the last time you procrastinated? You might even be procrastinating right now by watching this video instead of doing what you actually should be doing. Anyway, since you are here and watching this video, have you ever sat down and tried to understand why you procrastinate? Like really figure out why you can't just sit down and do the thing that you know you're supposed to do? Or the fact that you only seem to be able to complete the assignment one day before it's due rather than the 4 weeks you had beforehand? Hi, I'm Katie Brown and welcome to part 2 of the procrastination module. In part 2 of this module, you'll learn about the concept of resistance and understanding the psychology behind procrastination, unearthing the rebel side of you, and learning about the rebellious side that will use what we call the 5 poisons to stop you from achieving your goals. And finally, how you can overcome these 5 poisons by using some mental exercises. Resistance is the internal conversation you have in your head when you're trying to decide whether to do your assignments or watch a few Snapchat videos and check out your Instagram feed.
Instagram or homework?
And because we're so used to having this debate, we barely realise when the productive you has already lost to the procrastination version of you. And then before you know it, you're on your 11th straight YouTube video, promising yourself that this will be the last one and then you'll do your assignment.
Okay, just one more video and then I'll definitely do my homework.
So before we drill into what's really going on here, it's important for us to understand why we need to understand what happens to us psychologically before we can address the issues of procrastination. Once you grasp the fundamental triggers of procrastination at its core, procrastination loses its grip over you, and you can seize back control of the resistance to procrastination and the internal debate going on inside your head. So what are the triggers to procrastination then? Well, the first important point goes back to what we were talking to earlier, which is resistance. Every psychological theory recognizes that we are made up of different selves. Therefore, having a resistance to something means that there is a conflict going on inside of us between our inner selves. For example, one side of you wants to get stuff done, and the other side of you kind of just wants to watch Game of Thrones.
We really need to get this work done. Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones.
The rebellious side of your personality, and we all have a rebellious side, resists any form of structure. Your rebellious side is developed very early on in your childhood, when one of your first words is probably no. This comes as a result of our parents probably saying no when we were children, planting the seed of rebellion, which then causes an aversion to authority. And this childhood rebel lives on inside of us and constantly tries to battle any form of authority, even if that authority is you. The problems with this is that there's always going to be one side of you that doesn't want to sit down and do the work. The rebellious, non-ambitious, comfort-seeking side of you will always try and hijack your internal dialogue. And because the rebellious side of you has evolved with you as you've grown up, it resides deep within your subconscious. And it's pretty well versed in coming up with really good arguments in your internal debate and pretty convincing reasons as to why you shouldn't get your work done. The core of the arguments revolve around 5 sorts of things that we will refer to as poisons. So the next time you're procrastinating, take a moment to pause and reflect on the thoughts that are running through your mind.
Why am I procrastinating?
Be present in the moment and conscious of the messages that your brain is sending you when you are internally debating whether to do the work versus the temptation of procrastination. And what you'll find is a version of one of 5 poisons. Number 1, cynicism.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Your rebel side will pinpoint why a particular plan, choice, or idea won't work. It will conjure up a reason for you to be pessimistic and understand why the work isn't worth doing. Number 2, negativism.
I'm gonna fail that exam anyway, so why bother?
A common argument your rebel side will bring up is, why bother? If you find yourself buying into this argument, then your rebel side has cornered you into this attitude and is using it against you to get you to procrastinate. Number 3, defeatism.
I'm not good enough to do that anyway.
Your rebel side can also be ruthless when it needs to be, especially when it doesn't want to do something that you know is important and worthwhile. It will bring out the big guns in an argument and try and pinpoint your perceived shortcomings to trick you into self-defeat. It will prey on your feelings of insecurity and low self-esteem and try and use them to urge you to procrastinate. Number 4, escapism.
Remember all that other stuff I had to do?
Another common argument is that of escapism. You know that you need to sit down and write this essay, but you just remembered that your mum told you to take out the rubbish and do the dishes. Now you wouldn't stop halfway through a movie to go and do those jobs, but suddenly when you sit down to do some work, it happens. That's your rebel side using escapism as a leverage to try and stop you from doing the work. Number 5, delayism.
I'll just do it later.
This last poison is quintessential in its role in procrastination. The argument of "I'll do it later" is as old as time and is sometimes mixed with arguments like,
I can't complete this assignment until we've covered all the material in school.
Your rebel side will use delayism to put a hurdle between you and your goal. With a bit of practice, you'll begin to see a pattern emerging in your internal dialogue that revolves around any of these 5 poisons. Even by just acknowledging the existence of these poisons, you begin to greatly reduce their power over you. There's even some mental exercises that you'll be able to use as antidotes to these 5 poisons. These are mastering your self-talk. Learn to be conscious, present and mindful of the self-defeating chatter that you have with yourself. Have faith in your ability to improve. Reinforce the notion that nothing is permanent and you have the ability to overcome procrastination. The notion of positive thinking may be cliche, but it is scientifically proven that whether you have positive or negative thoughts, your subconscious will reinforce those thoughts and you can either go in an upward or downward spiral. The decision is in your hands. Mold your subconscious mind to reflect the behavior and attitude that you want. Whatever you tell yourself, your subconscious believes. It then finds a reason to prove that you are right, even if you're wrong. So if you think that you can't beat procrastination, then guess what? You won't be able to beat procrastination. Understand that your attitude has everything to do with success, regardless of the task at hand. You always have the power to choose a positive attitude. Internalize the cause and effect principle. Develop a greater appreciation for the cause and effect principle and the effect that it has on your life. Your actions are the cause and the results of your actions are the effects. So the next time you find yourself doing a diversionary activity, stop and pause for a moment. Consider if the internal dialogue is just a tactic to stop you from taking action. You might find that this puts things in greater context of what's important, thus reducing the temptation to procrastinate. Finally, as you're becoming more aware of your rebel side and the tricks that it may use against you, it is important not to think of the rebel side as your enemy. This sort of thinking can result in inner conflict and waste your energy that could instead be used on completing your goals. Instead, think of your rebel side as an unruly child living inside of you. Like any little kid, it will try and manipulate you into getting what it wants. So the way to win that little kid over is through cooperation and compromise. We'll explore how to achieve that exactly in the upcoming videos. But for now, understand that you can overcome any negative thoughts that your rebel side may give you by replacing them with positive thoughts. It's just a matter of practice in being able to consciously talk to yourself about it. The more you do it, the better you'll become at it. In the next video, we're going to learn about one of the single most powerful tools that could change how you get stuff done. Thanks for watching part 2 of this module, and I'll see you in the next video.